How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing well. It's spring break, isn't it? So I know quite a few of you may be having to deal with little ones. I wish you well with that. Most of the time they're at school, so this can be a challenging time. As I mentioned, I hope everything goes well for you. I wanted to talk to you today. As always, I appreciate everyone who subscribes to the channel and who gives an ear to an old man. And I'm thankful that just lately it seems that the things that I've been speaking on, the topics that I've chosen, they've become, subjects that fostered more conversation. And I hope in the future to do more of the same. Help people to think about things, to put things in proper perspective, to look at things logically so that they can make good decisions. That's a part of what I'd like to see happen more. And in line with that particular thought, man, I had a encounter with a friend of mine last weekend, and the conversation was very, very encouraging. It always is with this particular guy. But one of the things that he told me, and when he said it, it kind of struck a chord with me. He said, because of some of the things that I've been dealing with lately, he told me, he said, listen, don't suffer in silence. Don't suffer in silence. And he went on to talk about how that if a person makes their difficulties known, that there may be help. There may be a way to correct the situation that you're dealing with. And that got me to thinking, man. I had just done a podcast about being heard. And then even before that, I had done a podcast that dealt with the growing situation of young men and just men in general deciding that their life was not valuable enough to live. And so we have to be careful, especially when we discuss this, not to offend anyone. So there are certain terms that I'm going to shy away from, but what I want you to understand about what I'm saying is that they're taking the alternative to life. And throughout the course of this discussion, that's how I'll be referring to what we're talking about. They are taking the alternative to life. And so a lot of times in seeing that happen, a lot of the men that go through this, one of the main factors is because they don't see value in their existence. They don't see value in the fact that they're alive. And I think that the 2 points tie in together. Because if you're suffering in silence, a lot of times that's the motivation behind it. You don't feel like what you have to say is valuable. You don't feel like your life is valuable. And so why even bother? Why bother to try to seek help? Why bother to try to put yourself in the situation where things can become better because your life is useless? And I think hearing that from my friend, it kind of took me back to the beginning of this particular podcast. It took me back to what I was going through, the difficulties, having my children taken away from me, having to go through divorce, having to, deal with the state as far as child support and things of that sort is concerned. I can remember sitting on the edge of the bed and thinking to myself, how in the world do people deal with this sort of thing? How do they deal with it? And I was thinking also that if a person had to deal with the difficulties that come along with divorce and not being able to maintain your marriage, if they had to deal with those difficulties alone, I can understand absolutely how you could come to the conclusion some of the men come to because you're overwhelmed. If everything that you do or attempt in the situation bears no fruit, if you're looking at your situation and despite your best effort, I mean, you mustered everything that you possibly could muster, the situation doesn't get better, I can understand why it would be overwhelming. I can understand why a lot of men choose to take the alternative. But at the same time, I can remember thinking, especially like I mentioned when the podcast first started, I can remember thinking to myself that maybe I can help with that. Maybe I can, because I was looking for things to talk about. I was looking for things to share. And I come to find out that, you know, there's an issue here. There's an issue. Of course, many women, or more women, I should say, they attempt the alternative. But the difference with the attempts of women and the attempts of men is that men attempt the alternative with much more deadly force or in much more deadly methods. So it's a problem. And if you couple all of what I just said with the fact that a lot of my brothers, a lot of the men are disillusioned about who they should be, what principles should lead them in life, what should be their direction, what should be their focus, what is their purpose. A lot of my brothers don't have that. And so they're looking for it in an attempt to validate their own existence. Now, you know, we talked about that one time before, but that's what it basically boils down to for me. What do I have that validates my existence? For some, it's their employment. Maybe they've built a business that they're very proud of. For some, it's their family. For some, it's their spirituality. But what do I have? What do I have that validates my existence? What do I have that allows me to look at a situation and say, yes, this is the reason why I'm still alive. This is the reason why I'm striving. This is the reason why I'm pushing forward despite the difficulties that are coming to life. But can you imagine being in a situation where those particular difficulties, they outweigh and outnumber your reasons to continue living your life? And like I mentioned, that's the whole reason people ask me all the time, especially those that want to be critical of, you know, some of the earlier work that I've done. They ask me all the time, what does that mean? The king gene. And a lot of times people draw the wrong conclusion. They jump to the wrong conclusion about what I mean. So let me explain. The king gene, when I first came up with the idea, it's a simple notion. I believe that as men, we are created with certain characteristics and the ability to develop certain qualities that will allow us to be regal. Now, it's not about being, you know, better than someone else. It's not about, you know, mastery over other people. That's not what this is about. The king gene, you have the ability within yourself. I'm sure that ability rests within women as well. I honestly believe that. But because I am a man, then a lot of my focus is on men and the issues that they deal with. But I believe that we were created with the ability to be regal as men. And I think that the strength, power, all of the qualities that we've given, all of the characteristics that make up manhood is what causes a man to go from being a male to being a man in the sense of fulfilling his responsibility, caring for those around him, and making sure that those who are exposed to his influence leave him better than when they came. That's what the king gene is all about. That's what it's about. Now, if you look at some of my earlier work, I know it's confusing. I get it. It's confusing because at that particular time, I was going through quite a bit. And you can see glimpses of me trying to be more positive, trying to be more logical in the way that I presented information to you all. In some of the podcasts that I did, you know, I'm proud of a lot of the work I've done, because a lot of the work, it does speak positively. But in some situations, getting in front of the camera, turning the mic on, was just an experience that can't be characterized by any other word but anger. Anger at having to deal with some of the things that I was having to deal with after trying to do the best that I possibly could with difficult situations, right? But as an older man, as a man who's had an opportunity to look back at life so far, without question, I would say that I think that looking at the men in my life that I've been exposed to, that's a real thing. The King gene is a real thing. That hidden potential, because I've had it pulled out of me. That hidden potential that exists within every man. I believe that. I believe that in times of trial, in times of difficulty, that if you are trying to do the right thing, and you're trying to do something that's going to benefit those around you, you can pull it out of yourself. You can pull it out of yourself. You can make a situation that's absolutely unbearable for you, bearable for those around you, because of your influence, because of maybe your insight into a situation. I believe in it, honestly. And my whole reason for doing a podcast is to encourage my brothers. Listen, the alternative should not be an option. No. You have family members. You have people who look up to you. People who look at your example and they draw from your example good conclusions. They say to themselves, if that particular person can make it, then I can make it. And that's the kind of example we want to set. A lot of times as men, we're not as vocal. We don't have a whole lot to say. You know, we're not as eloquent as some might be. But the point of the matter is, you can set an example by the way that you live, right? Action. Here we go. Action speaks louder than words. And it does. And so in the example that we set, an example that we show to the world, individuals can find comfort in the example that you set, because now you're looking at a situation where it's not written, it's not theory, it's actual real world experience. And real world experience, a lot of times, the fact that I've put this to practice in my life and been able to see success is more powerful than anything that you are right. It is, it's more powerful. And so I just wanted to share that thought with you all. The thought is pretty short this morning because actually I forgot to start recording when I left the house. We would have had more time. But what I want you to do this week, I want you to focus on continuing to be the very best person that you can be, despite whatever trials or difficulties that you're going through, and continue to build. If it's 30 minutes a day that you decided to take and walk for your exercise, or maybe this week you decided that you're going to leave the drinks that contain so much sugar and so many additives that could do you harm. You decided to leave those alone for this week. Whatever positive pursuits you have, I encourage you to achieve your goals this week, man. Let's make it a powerful one, because the smallest steps can lead to the longest and the greatest journeys. And that's what I want for you, man. So look, we're going to end it like we always do. You know I love you. Be easy.